I've been sponsoring a hearing dog called Micky, and today I'm going to meet him and his owner Tim, whose life he's completely transforming. Tim, thanks ever so much for coming down. It's really nice. I've been looking forward to meeting Micky and yourself, of course. And we picked the right day for that.
You have. It's a beautiful surroundings here, lovely buildings, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Sun's come out, and look, he's looking splendid. I mean, he's a lovely dog, I've got to say. I'm rather smitten. I mean, obviously, you know, Scratch is the best dog in the world, but he's very handsome.
Yes, he is. He is, and I'm very pleased to have him, and I'm very pleased to be here with him today.
Tim, a lot of people with hearing difficulties can feel quite isolated. Was that something that you experienced too?
I think certainly in the earlier years and in the later that you do feel isolated. You don't probably get as many friends as you want because of the fact that people probably don't realise you're deaf. They think you're ignoring them. And again, it's always that little bit of extra effort for them to communicate with a deaf person.
Yeah, I mean, for me, sometimes I do find myself nodding, but actually not hearing a word that's being said. And that can be difficult because the conversation therefore doesn't go anywhere. And I mean, particularly when you're making sort of small talk, which we're all loath to do, of course, but it happens, it's part and parcel of our life. And as you've got older, has it got easier to deal with the situation, do you think?
I would say it's probably got easier because I become more accepting of the fact. And also I think as time has progressed, I have tended to come out of my shell a bit and tell people what the problem is.
Exactly the same's happened to me. When I first lost it, and people would be here and I couldn't hear a word they were saying, I would, you know, struggle. I'd be really trying to hear them.
It's a horrible thing to say, but it would probably be nice if there was some form of discreet badge or something that tells people, which is where hearing dogs come in with their coats.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a very great assistance that when I take the dog out.
Tell me about hearing dogs then. How did you get to hear of hearing dogs? When did you first encounter that as a method of support?
I mean, it was back in 1990. I was having my first operation for a cochlear implant, and I was at Torbay Hospital, and there was actually literature on the wall, and I saw, myself and my wife saw that, and we discussed it, and we said, yes, well, let's see what happens. Even beside the sounds he's trained in, he will tell me if there's anything out of the unusual.
Right.
I always remember the first Jimmy, our first dog, was very well trained. We were in Harrods in London, and every time my wife went to use a credit card and the till rang, the dog came and told me.
Now that's the sort of hearing dog you need.
When we lost Jimmy, and I had to take all his possessions to the vet, I remember taking them in through the door to the surgery, and I just left them there, turned round and went straight out because I just couldn't tell them what they were.
Well, I can't even talk about the loss of Itch because we don't want floods of tears on the film, but the thing is that they're a companion, aren't they? They're the best companion that when it comes down to it. And they're always there, and they always present themselves with no conditions. You know, that unconditional love that you get from a dog is absolutely invaluable. But what about the practical side? You know, what's he doing for you that otherwise would be a real struggle?
I mean, I think the alerting of sounds is very important. I mean, he would tell me if there's somebody at the door or anything like that. Many years ago, when I was probably in my 20s, I was working out on audit, and I was at this big factory, and I was in the room completely by myself, working away, and there was actually a severe fire at the factory. All the alarms went off, and of course I didn't hear them, and nobody thought about not being a regular member of the staff, nobody thought about the order to stick up in this office. And the first thing I knew about the fire was when a fireman tapped me on the shoulder. Now, of course, with the hearing dog, that wouldn't happen.
No. There is very much a safety thing, so smoke alarms in the home,
Yes.
any other form of alarm, is critically important, isn't it?
It is.
So they do transform people's lives, don't they?
They do. A lot, yes. I wouldn't be without a hearing dog now, if it could be avoided. I mean, hearing dogs have made a very big difference to my life, and I'm very grateful to them, and also, of course, the people who sponsor them.
Following Micky through the training process has been absolutely fascinating, and it's been brilliant to meet him and Tim together today, because he is completely transforming Tim's life. You see, being deaf can be terribly isolating. You can be really lonely, but Tim's never going to be lonely with Micky at his side. And that's why I think Hearing Dogs for Deaf People is such a brilliant charity, and why I'd like to ask you to support it too.